What if I told you that the deepest truths about our universe, the nature of atoms, the tiny particles inside them, the very forces that hold reality together, what if those weren't discovered in a lab last century, but were actually described thousands of years ago?
Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like something out of science fiction, right? But believe it or not, some researchers are asking this exact question. They're digging into an ancient Sanskrit hymn, the Vishnu Sahasranama, and they're finding what they believe are just stunning parallels to 21st century quantum science.
So here's the theory. The idea is that this ancient text isn't just a list of 1,000 names for a deity. It's actually a coded manual for the universe, an encrypted scientific document that describes the very fabric of reality itself. Okay, let's dive in and try to crack this thing.
To decode this cipher, we have to start where the universe itself began, with that very first tiny point, the first singularity.
Deep in the hymn, we come across this name Anuh. Now, on the surface, its translation is the atom or the subtlest, but the interpretation that's got researchers so fascinated goes way deeper. It suggests Anuh isn't just any particle, but the very first one, that primordial point, that singularity that existed before time and space as we know them.
And this is where it gets a little spooky. On one hand, you have the ancient concept of Anuh, the tiny starting point of all creation. And on the other, you have modern cosmology's theory of the singularity, that infinitely dense point that exploded into the Big Bang. The concepts are, well, they're almost identical.
But the text doesn't just stop at the birth of the universe. It goes even smaller, venturing right inside the atom itself, the thing we used to call unsplittable. For centuries, the very word atom, in Western science, literally meant indivisible. It was the absolute bedrock, the fundamental, unsplittable piece of everything. And yet these ancient texts have this phrase, the atom within the atom, which suggests they had this incredible awareness that you could keep dividing reality, going smaller and smaller.
Just to give you a sense of the insane scale they were thinking about, the ancient St. Tiramuller gave us this visualization. Just try to picture that final particle, 100,000th of a single hair. This isn't just some poetic metaphor. It's a very real, conceptual attempt to grasp the subatomic, a world modern science needed thousands of years and powerful technology to even see.
And the cipher goes even deeper with another name, Sukshma, which means the subtle. This isn't describing the atom anymore, but what's inside of it. The interpretation here is that Sukshma is talking about the truly fundamental particles, the quarks and gluons that our own physicists only managed to confirm in the last few decades.
Okay, now this next part is where things get really wild, because what we're about to see mirrors one of the single biggest challenges in all of modern physics. How do you connect the world of the very, very small with the world of the very, very large?
See, the key here is that the structure of this hymn, the order of the names, it's not random. Proponents of this theory argue it's incredibly deliberate, and it's designed to reveal a much deeper truth about how the universe is put together. So first, the text gives us the concept of Anuh, that ultimate, tiny, subtle particle that represents the quantum world. And then right after describing the absolute smallest thing you can imagine, the hymn introduces Stavista, which means the supremely gross, the vastness of the entire cosmos. So why? Why do that? Why would you put the tiniest thing imaginable right next to the biggest thing imaginable? What could possibly be the point of describing the quantum and the cosmic in the very same breath?
Well, the interpretation is that this sequence is the point. It's a statement. It's an ancient nod to what modern physicists are desperately searching for right now, what they call a unified field theory, the holy grail of physics. The idea that the rules that govern atoms and the rules that govern galaxies are, in the end, exactly the same.
Okay, so if this text is describing matter at both the smallest and the largest scales, does it also talk about the fundamental forces? The cosmic glue that holds it all together? Well, according to this theory, you bet it does. So check this out. The name GuNabhRt literally translates to the force bearer. This is seen as a clear parallel to the four fundamental forces we know today: gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. But then it gets even more abstract. The very next name, Nirguna, means without attributes. This is interpreted as a description of the quantum vacuum, that underlying field of pure potential from which all particles and all forces just pop into existence. It's like the blank canvas of reality itself.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture being painted here, it's kind of staggering. You've got the singularity, the subatomic particles, the unification of the large and the small, and now the forces and the very fields of potential that underpins all of reality. It's an incredibly complete model.
And this all leads us to the final and maybe the most mind-bending question of all. If any of this is even remotely true, how? How could ancient sages possibly have known any of this? They didn't have supercolliders or electron microscopes.
Well, the proposed answer lies in a completely different way of doing science. See, modern science looks outward. It uses huge external instruments to smash particles together and then looks at the debris. This ancient science, it's argued, looked inward. It used the internal instrument of consciousness itself. The method wasn't a physical collision. It was a state of direct perception, something they called drish.
And this is the core analogy, the big idea. While today, we build multi-billion-dollar particle accelerators to get a peek at the building blocks of reality, the ancient sages, or rishis, are said to have used an accelerator of consciousness, turning their awareness inward with such incredible focus that they could perceive these fundamental truths directly. And if you think about it that way, it totally reframes the entire discussion. It suggests that what we often dismiss as ancient mythology or religion might have actually been a highly advanced form of science, a technical manual for the cosmos, just one that was accessed through an entirely different, internal mode of discovery.
And that really leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. I mean, if a 3,000-year-old hymn could potentially hold the secrets of quantum physics, what else might be lying hidden in ancient wisdom, just waiting for us to find the right key, the right lens, to finally unlock it?